Hey everyone, it's good to see you guys. I'm really excited to be here. I have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Helena Hart. Helena is a certified life and relationship coach with a master's degree in psychology. She's an author, a master coach teacher, and she also helps women all over the world effortlessly attract the love that they desire in their life. Thanks so much for coming on, Helena. I'm really excited to get into this.
Thank you for asking me. I'm very excited too. I love this topic. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. So I'm looking forward to diving in.
Yeah, this is masculine and feminine energy excites me because once you see the power of it to create connection, like you can pretty much use it anywhere. You can use it in creating a relationship, in business, you can use it in romance. But I think a lot of people don't recognize how to kind of soften and then harden or soften as they need in order to create a relationship. So I guess what I wanted to go into was really how do you like I come from a background where I was more masculine all the time. I didn't know how to slow down. It was always like hard, hard, hard. And I didn't know how to soften to allow people to come in as much. And that affected my relationships. How would you say a person uh, gets into the middle where they can create their energy to be more masculine in one moment or create their energy to be more feminine in one moment based off whatever the situation needs?
Oh, so such a great question. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard anyone explain it in that way that you just did before. So that's great. Yeah, I mean, for those of you who aren't familiar with these terms, I'm sure probably most people are. It's kind of like a buzzword in our field now, right? But masculine energy is the part of us that's about doing things and just like you said, getting things done, tackling your to-do list, analyzing, figuring things out. It's very useful for many areas of your life, such as work, raising kids often, or anytime you need to just get something done, you're in your masculine energy, or it's very helpful to be in your masculine energy, right? And feminine energy is the opposite. It's the part that's about feeling, experiencing the moment, tapping into your intuition, responding, expressing yourself from that place, right? So yeah, I love that you said that. I like to help, my community and clients that I've worked with, are primarily women. So I help them tap into their feminine energy, not just in relationships, but really to help them attract anything they want in all areas of your life. So to answer your question, this is probably a long-winded answer, to help
That's
you tap into that other side of it. Women who come to me and they watch my videos on YouTube or, buy some of my books or programs, they're kind of like what you described. They tend to be stuck in their masculine energy. Many of them
okay.
are really successful, ambitious, driven women that have their own careers or they won't work full time, and they also might be raising kids. So they're used to that doing, striving energy. And just like you described, it can work well in other areas of your life, not so great in relationships when it comes to building a connection, right? So, the first step is to help them tap into this other side of themselves. And that's often, it involves getting in touch with your feelings rather than what you're thinking. I don't know about you, but I know for myself and for so many women who come to me, who are in my community, they tend to overthink and overanalyze, especially when it comes to relationships, if they're really attracted to a guy, right? What do? We go right up into our heads. We start analyzing the situation. I'm like leaning forward as I'm describing this, right? So the first thing I would have someone do to kind of tap into this feminine energy side is get out of their head and into their body, right? Out of their masculine energy into their feminine energy. And it's all about feelings. We all have feelings and emotions and body sensations that we can tap into. So that's all kind of like a gateway into this feminine energy side, if that makes sense. I hope I'm explaining this correctly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think most people in the modern world are not in their bodies fully
Mm-hmm.
because they're always trying to do things, trying to get things done. And I get it. Like I've been guilty of it plenty of times in my
Oh,
own
me
life.
too. Yeah.
Right? But then like it's almost like it kind of bites you in the ass later on because
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to do all this stuff, then there's all these built up feelings that you haven't been feeling over 6 months or a year or however long and then it all just kind of comes forward.
Oh my gosh, totally. It's like, have you ever heard that phrase, like what we resist persists? Like the more we
Yeah.
try and stuff something down and not feel it or be more reasonable than that, the more it's going to pop out, often at the worst possible moment, right? It's like your inner 2-year-old or 4-year-old throwing a tantrum. It's the worst moment possible, right? Especially in romantic relationships or interpersonal relationships. So yeah, it's really important to get in touch with some of these deeper feelings. And, like we said, we all have both masculine and feminine energy. And so if you're kind of deficient in one, you might kind of express the wounded aspects of another, right? So if you're ignoring some of your feelings on that feminine energy side, you might go into your wounded masculine, which tries to manipulate or control the situation, right? Or maybe you're right. Yeah, I mean, we've all been there. Gosh, myself included, so many times. I'm so familiar with this because I've been that person who doesn't want to feel how I'm feeling. So then I just try to control external circumstances. And if anyone's ever tried that, it doesn't work. So you want to tap into this other side as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I love exploring, and I've really been trying to explore with this just in my own work and life in the last year, is consciously using the energy when I want to. So if I want to soften, like I can soften in with the person. If I want to harden, I can harden it kind of be more masculine, because there's times where we do need to be one or the other. There might be, let's say if our spouse, our significant other gets home, they're upset, they've had a long day, maybe it's like they've been in their masculine energy. And if you've been in your masculine energy all day and they've been in their masculine energy all day, and he or she just wants to relax, but then you guys come together, it's like it can kind of hit like this sometimes. And so I've really seen the value of softening and being responsive to a person's energy state and where they're in temporarily to have the best possible outcome and create a good connection.
I love what you said. The image I got when you were saying that is like two magnets with the same charge. It's like the two masculine energies, they just repel each other, right? So for women, I don't know if for my audience is like 96% women or something like that on my YouTube channel. So my content reflects that, but this certainly goes both ways. If you can, I'll just speak personally as a woman, if you can learn to kind of flip that magnet around, now you can pull that partner in, or that man that's right in front of you, using your feminine energy. If you're looking to attract a masculine energy man, or if your man is a masculine man, you want to lean back and create that space for him to come towards you, rather than just like you said, you coming at him with your masculine, he's in his masculine, or he's relaxing on the couch and you're trying to do something to create some connection. So you're trying to make him open up. If anyone's ever tried that, it doesn't work. So you have to actually lean back and create that space for him to step up. Right. And so that connection is often created in the space. It's not in that, what's that perfect thing I can say to stir something into creation here and make him feel connected with me. It's kind of a results-oriented masculine energy orientation, right? So it's all about leaning back and creating the space for that connection to happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. I was just reading up on the 6 love language, and they said that, there's the 5 love languages. Well, they recently added a 6th one, and they said,
I love that.
Yeah, and I thought that was really interesting.
I think that's brilliant. I like that a lot. I really like that. I mean, so often I hear women say, I gave him everything and he just disappeared, right? But it's like, if you were really giving him that thing he needed, which is often that space component, that's where the magic happens often. So I love that.
Right. So let's say someone's in they're in their whatever energy they're in, whether it's masculine or feminine, you're in this relationship. How would you slow a person down and get them into the energy they need to be in order to create the connection?
Yeah, great. I love that you mentioned slowing down. If you can really, I'll speak personally here for all the ladies watching, right? If you can slow down the tempo of every moment so you can actually experience it while it's happening. So much of the time, for everyone watching, you can just imagine your partner or a man in front of you. Often we're always kind of trying to what's the next thing should I say? Where's this relationship going? What does he think of me? Right? I mean, we both do, men and women both do this, right? Yeah. even if we're not like trying to do that, sometimes it's just somewhere in our eyes, it's somewhere in our energy. So if you can slow down the tempo where you can just really experience what's going on around you, right? Like really hear his words and look in his eyes and feel the air on your skin. Men can do this too, right? I mean, it's not just a gender thing. Slow down the tempo of every moment so you can experience it while it's happening. Because so much of the time we feel urgent. We want to get to the next step, right? I mean, as women, especially, we're like, what, what's the next step here? And we have these kind of goals in mind where men I've found they just want to feel good in the moment. So if you can kind of reverse that dynamic, right? And just play in the moment, feel good in the moment, that's where the two of you, it creates a connection that feels amazing to the both of you. I've really found.
Yeah. I think we forget that like silence and space is a way of connecting. Like there's a lot of the times I think we get caught up in the mind, like you're saying, oh, I got to do this next. I got to do, where's this person going? Like, where's the relationship going? But that actually gets in the way of the connection itself. Like I know whenever I'm working with clients, I get in the clearest headspace as possible where I have no thought and I'm just totally 100% present, because when we're actually present with another human being and we're not having our thinking get in the middle of it, then we're not seeing them through the lens of our own thinking. We're actually connecting with them in the realest way possible.
It's so true. I agree with that 1,000%. It's so true. And we can, I mean, I'm like, I'm trying not to laugh too hard over here because I'm so that way. I can totally, I'm the classic overthinker, overfunctioner. So if I can do this, I say anybody can. So I know you can too, for anyone watching. So yeah, just a real practical tool. If you find yourself kind of getting those spinning thoughts or going up in your head, just kind of drill down into the present moment. Like if you're having dinner, just like feel the fork in your hand, right? Look, feel the glass of water or the glass of wine, the smoothness of it. And you can't really be up in your head and in your body at the same time. So especially if you're having trouble connecting with your feelings, I think so many of us are kind of like just kind of lunging from one obligation to another all day long. We're not really in touch with how we're feeling. So if it's hard to do that, just go for body sensation. Feel it, if you feel any tightness in your shoulders or your stomach or something like that, you can't really be overthinking and putting your awareness in your body or in the present moment at the same time. And just doing that is like the most attractive thing in the world to a man or to your partner, right? Because like you said, just that tiny shift in that direction, getting out of your head into your body, just that energetic shift will pull them towards you. You'll actually feel that person come closer to you physically or energetically.
Yeah, I love that. It's so funny. I realize there's a direct correlation between how present I am in my life and how much everything just seems to come in the more present I am. And then the less present I am, it's like everything feels so far away, whether it's relationships or whatever I'm trying to create. It's
totally
the less present, and it feels further away.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, this works in all areas of your life. I have a program called the Feminine Art of Attraction. It's kind of tapping into getting into your body, getting into your feelings in order to attract anything in life, money, opportunities, relationships, just anything. So it's so true. When you feel urgent, when you're trying to speed things up, I've found you always slow yourself down, because urgency and trying to make something happen or force something and good timing, like things unfolding in perfect timing, are two very different vibrational wavelengths, so to speak. So you can't feel urgent and have good timing, have things come to you at the same time. One is like a leaning forward, kind of grasping energy. I want this and I don't have it. So I need to force things, to go my way in order to get it. One is a leaning back, kind of magnetic energy, where you're pulling the whole world towards you, especially that person that's right in front of you in relationships, right?
Yeah, I love that. Helena, how would you say when you first connect with someone, like when's the right time to lean back? Do you know what I mean? So like there's that initial touch point, that initial connection. Because sometimes if we try to give too much, and like you said, if we're trying to speed up and make things happen way quicker, then it can actually push the person away, because it's almost like they feel a sense of neediness or something like that, and it's just like, ugh. But then when we pull back, we can bring them more into our orbit in our field or energy, however we want to say it. How do you know just the right amount to give and then not overgive to the point that you lose value, perceived value, and the connection is actually hurt? Does that question make sense?
What a great question. Yeah, I'm like blown away. I love that question so much. And I get versions of that all the time. As women, women who are drawn to my work and my videos and things like that, they have this tendency to like lean forward so much, like overgive, overfunction. So for women who kind of have, and that was certainly my tendency in my past, especially, I say you can't go wrong by leaning back. When in doubt, lean back. Just don't think about it. Don't try and put it into, overthink it. Should I lean forward? Should I lean back? Just when in doubt, as a woman, just lean back and see what happens. Lean back and then be warm and open and receptive to a man, right? It's not about being cold or ignoring him or employing some kind of strategy to get him to do what you want, right? It's just a whole new way to live your life. Getting the experience of receiving from a man, because that's such a foreign concept to so many women. I can certainly relate to that. We've kind of been brought up placing our value or our worth on what we can accomplish and do and give to others. So the idea of just leaning back and someone loving us for who we are is like a totally foreign concept to so many women, I've found, right? So when in doubt, lean back, be warm, receptive, and open when someone shows up. But, of course, if someone's crazy about you, if their energy is coming towards you and things are functioning more freely, you just know for sure where you stand, just the way it's supposed to be, right? You can do anything. You can do whatever you want, right? Even as a woman, you can lean forward, you can call a guy up, invite him over, you can do anything. Most women, I would say, who come to me are not at that place. They're feeling anxious and insecure. They don't know where they stand with this guy. Maybe he's pulling away or acting distant. So that's when I say you can't go wrong by leaning back and just seeing what he does. Does he come forward or not? It's going to give you a lot of information about his interest level. But once things are moving and you know where you stand and you feel secure, I say you can do whatever you want, right? You just experiment with it. If you feel like leaning forward and it doesn't feel right, you can always rein it back in, right? There are no fatal moves here. You know what I mean?
I love that you mentioned there's no fatal moves. Like,
yeah, of course.
Can be once I realized that pretty much about 80 to 85% of things in life can be undone. Like once I realized that, it was no longer like do or die all the time.
Yes.
There can be so much stress and anxiety. And I see this in relationships too, sometimes where people will say like a perfect example of this. I was talking to one woman the other day. She had a lot of guilt and shame energy because she wanted this. She was in this relationship with another person. She really loved him, but she had some internal issues, and it was affecting the relationship. And she didn't want to admit that it was affecting the relationship because if she owned up to it, then she was worried that it would break up the relationship. So she covered that hurt up with guilt and shame. And then what ended up happening was, because she wasn't asking for her partner's support and getting like that support and that more receptive energy from a man, she didn't share the shadow that was playing out unconsciously in the relationship. And that ended up like disconnecting, like that ended up disconnecting them. And so then the original guilt and shame that she was experiencing and feeling on the inside about the shadow that she had, which was making the relationship go south, like that ended up actually hurting the relationship in the long run because she wasn't willing to be supported by her mate. And so I remember just like coaching her around that and thinking, wow, that's like the best thing. Like that's the best thing that you can do is recognize that if you ask for your partner's support, male or female, and not worry about taking on all of the shadow yourself that might be playing out in the relationship, and then like you can actually have a healthier connection. So I saw with her, I hope I'm communicating this the best way. I saw with her that she felt guilty and shameful for having the shit that she did on the inside. And she was worried that if that was found out or if she admitted to it, that would play out against the relationship and the relationship would then collapse. But it was like the very unwillingness at the time. It was the very unwillingness of her that, what's a better way that I can say this? She was afraid to lose the relationship by owning up to the fact that she had this shadow aspect part of her that was trying to sabotage it. And so ask for that support, then it was, she suddenly wasn't, she just kept having that self-sabotage pattern. And do you see what I'm saying here?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's almost like she was rejecting. For this is my understanding. That I love that story. I think that there could be so much to be learned from that. So much to say on that. I wish we had more time. We could do a whole video just on that shadow side, because I think that is actually the key to building deep connection and intimacy. But we don't think that. We want to stuff those parts of ourselves down, just like she did. She was rejecting a part of herself. Then it sounds like she was afraid that this man was going to reject her for something she'd already rejected in herself. Right.
And then and then that was causing the relationship to crumble because he didn't feel connected to her, and her worst fear played out because she didn't own up to that. And so it's really interesting to, I think, for anyone to learn that, you know, you can get this. It's okay to make mistakes. Like, it's okay to have your shadow side play out. Just own it. Like, own whatever's coming up and ask for support if you need it in the relationship, because you can always undo things a lot of the times. You can usually undo things if you have an open heart and you have respect for your mate or your partner. Usually, totally.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's men especially can recover so quickly, and relationships can recover quickly. I hear from so many women like, I messed up. Can this be turned around? And I'm like, 99% of the time, like, yes, absolutely. Unless you like slash his tires or something like that. Right. But like, of course, I did an interview not too long ago with a married couple, good friends of mine, relationship coaches. And it was actually, you know, the whole point of the video was your shadow side is actually the key to forming and maintaining a deep, intimate connection with your partner. It's those things we want to stuff down and hide from the world and even from ourselves. That's what makes the right person see you and know you're the one and want to connect with you and want to come closer. So we have to fall in love with all the parts of ourselves before you can really expect anyone to fall in love with you 100%. You have to go there yourself first, I believe, you know?
I totally agree. Absolutely. I feel like whatever we got going on in the inside of ourselves, that the external world always reflects back to us.
Totally.
What's going on within. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're only loving yourself 70%, you can't expect a man to show up 100% for you, right? Or the degree to which you love yourself is the degree to which you can receive love, you know, or attract it from others, right? So I see that so many times women and men too can be so loving and giving, and they're just projecting it out. It's like they're taking all their love and they're throwing it down this bottomless pit by trying to make it happen with someone who's just never going to show up 100% from them, right? Because that goes both ways. That other person might only love themselves 50%. So, and here we are trying to give, how do I just show him that he's enough or good, that's where you can really get into trouble. I've seen men and women actually stuck in situations for years like that, where it's just so obvious to me, or probably to any professional, that it's not really going to turn into anything real. So yeah, it's really important to kind of uncover the parts of yourself that you might not want to necessarily love or embrace, right?
Yeah. Yep. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Guys, we're going to go to some questions here soon. I'm going to ask Helena probably one more question, and then we'll take some questions out for you guys. So if you have questions right now, feel free to put them up there in the comment section, and then we'll bring them in as soon as I ask this question, because I'm excited about this next question. Helena, what would you see if someone's holding on to any of that internal guilt and shame, and that's actually playing out in the relationship because they haven't accepted that part of themselves? A good example of this, I could remember I dated one woman about 4 years back, and she had a really anxious attachment style. And of course I had an avoidant attachment style at that point. And I remember having that experience, and she didn't want to own up to the fact that she had some insecurities, and that her trying to hide that actually kept kept from a beautiful relationship developing or going even further. If someone has guilt and shame in any area of their life or of themselves, how does that affect in the relationship that you've seen, and how can someone work through that?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question, because who doesn't feel insecure sometimes, right? Like I was just saying the other day, oh my gosh, I feel so self-conscious sometimes. Like we can all relate to that. So even just having the courage to like be vulnerable and say that can create intimacy. Will almost always create intimacy rather than stuffing it down and then acting out of that insecurity or out of that guilt, right? So this can go for anything. I've truly found, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. Whatever you are stuffing down in yourself, you're going to attract it on the outside. So you can kind of love that part of yourself and hate that part of yourself out there in someone else, right? So let's say you're deeply angry. Another one thing I hear, so many people are kind of filled with anger and rage, but they're kind of sitting on it or stuffing it down. They don't, why would you want to face that? It's not the most pleasant thing in the world to want to face and embrace, right? So if you are deeply angry and you're stuffing it down, you're going to attract angry partners and be attracted to angry partners so they can express that anger for you, right? It's a system. They express the anger for you, then you feel released and you can complain about it, but you didn't have to like go in and do that work yourself. So and then it doesn't really get any deeper, if that makes sense. Same with guilt, shame, anything you are not facing. In my experience, you tend to attract it and be attracted to those wounded parts of yourself on the outside. That's certainly what I've seen. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's been my own life, hands down. It's definitely been some of the lives of my clients until you do the inner work. And then once you do the inner work, I think it's really just about maintaining like maintenance and balance. Because I've noticed you really can't, once you do the inner work, it's like, you can't go back to it if you really have done all the deep inner work, but you also have to maintain a balance as well too. I've noticed where there's been times where I've overworked myself in my life, even though I've done a lot of inner work, where I've overworked myself, and then I start getting reflections back because I'm like, okay, I need to slow down a little bit because the reflections back I'm getting aren't nearly as
I mean, gosh, this works with everything, totally everything. If you tend to be hard on yourself or critical of yourself, you're going to attract partners that make you feel like you're not quite good enough, who might judge you or subtly put you down or criticize you or just make you feel like you're not enough. We can all relate to being hard on ourselves or critical perfectionists. And so, there's so many. I used to attract emotionally unavailable men, and that's the only kind of man I felt chemistry with. It was about 10 years or so ago. And because there was a part of myself that was deeply afraid of true intimacy and commitment. And so that's where we both felt safe. And it's like that superficial chemistry was like off the charts with that kind of person. And so I had to uncover some of my own fears of intimacy and true commitment and stuff before. And then, just like you said, sometimes a person like that will show back up. But if you've healed and done the work, you're not going to feel that same pull towards that kind of person. You won't feel that same emotional charge. You might even feel bored with back and forth, hot and cold behavior once you've truly healed, right?
Right. Yeah. I love what you said about having to have like you have a lot of chemistry. I think I was reading something the other day where it talked about chemistry and compatibility, and you can have great chemistry, but we also need that long-term compatibility as well. And if we haven't done the inner work in terms of commitment or any of the other areas that allow us to have a healthy relationship with another individual, then you can have all the chemistry that you want, but the relationship's not going to be something that's longevitous or sustainable unless you have those compatibility factors as well too.
Totally. And often chemistry, at least this was certainly the case for me and in so many women I've worked with over the years, your feelings of instant chemistry and that spark of attraction can be all hooked up with the wrong kind of man who just fits into those old, and same with men, and it goes both ways. What your subconscious creates that spark of attraction. but it doesn't know what's good for you or what's bad, right? Your prefrontal cortex is what makes those kind of decisions. This is healthy, this is unhealthy. But your subconscious doesn't do that. Your subconscious just wants to say, you've survived this. This is a dance you know how to do. You can handle this, and it'll pull you towards what feels familiar, which is often what love felt like to you earlier in life, right? So if you had caregivers that made, you had to work hard to earn their love, that's the kind of person you're going to be attracted to until you kind of heal that within yourself. I've certainly found. And so just because, we place so much meaning on this chemistry we feel, when really sometimes it's just our subconscious wanting to keep us safe, keep us into this kind of familiar box, wow. Right? But I found you can develop real chemistry, lasting chemistry with the right kind of person once you kind of learn how to turn some of these patterns around.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Well, we're gonna, Helena, are you okay with going to some questions here?
Yeah, absolutely. I have about 10, 15 more minutes, if that's okay. So I love questions.
Perfect. All right. So I'm gonna go to, I think I saw a question from Ethereal here. Okay. So she says, yes, he's crazy about me, so it makes it a little bit easier, but I had to learn the hard way because I didn't lean forward in the past. I think there's a conversation going outside. Maybe it's happening on Facebook, because I'm not seeing the earlier comments that she.
Okay. Yeah, I did lean forward in the past.
Can you see what this means?
Yeah, he's crazy about me. It makes it easy. It makes it easier, meaning she knows where she stands with him, so she can maybe do whatever she wants. But in the past, she leaned forward, probably tried to make something happen with him, and could feel that would push him away a little bit. That's my best guess. I've certainly experienced that. I hear from women every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when in doubt, lean back. You can never go wrong by leaning back. And then once you feel his energy coming towards you, then feel free to experiment with the energy exchange a little bit. If you're unsure,
Right. I think it's just sometimes people don't feel safe leaning back because they want it so bad. They're like, I need it.
Yeah.
No, you can lean back. It's okay.
You're afraid he's gonna slip through my fingers. He's already pulling away, but it's like this energy exchange, right? If we all have an amount of intimacy and closeness, a certain amount of intimacy we can tolerate. So if you can tolerate this much closeness, but a man can tolerate like this much, right? If you're leaning forward, he's going to try and maintain that distance, right? And so when he pulls away a little bit, it makes us want to lean forward and try and get that connection happening. But if you can I know it can be scary and cause anxiety, but at first just anchor yourself right where you are. If he gets too far, he's going to feel that tension and that pull to come back. But if you're constantly just chasing him, it's going to push him further and further away. I'm sure the ladies out there have experienced that. I know I certainly have.
Yeah. Well, I really love that. I've never thought of it in terms of everyone has their distances for how close or for how willing they are to allow someone in or not. Like, and how it has to be balanced in that way. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Grace here. Grace says, let's see. She says, I draw men that need too much. That's okay. Now I help them from a distance. I stay single and live alone. There's nothing wrong with that, Grace. What would you say to someone who's in that space, though? It looks like, I think she said here earlier, we have to learn how to vision a different life. Many can see how their life could be.
I would say, it can be so easy to focus on the other person and what they need. I would say to Grace, what do you need in a relationship? What about your needs? A lot of times we can push down our own needs and feelings and desires and just focus on a man or the other person because we're ignoring how we feel about ourselves, which maybe it's not very good. Maybe you're feeling empty and you're giving and giving and giving and then feeling resentful or just not good when you're not getting that same effort back in return, right? So get in touch with what you want. How do you want your ideal relationship to feel, right?
I love that. Yeah, because I think that's why sometimes people isolate themselves. They see a pattern within themselves to just constantly give, and give. And then they think, well, if this is how relationships is always going to be, why would I ever want to get in another relationship if it's just more giving and giving and giving?
Yeah, I can say masculine energy men love to give to you. They love to make you happy. It's like their favorite.
Okay, Helena.
Yeah. I can hear you.
I lost you there for a little.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can still hear you.
Oh, we're back.
Are we
There we go.
back? Okay, good. Yeah, I was just saying that, masculine energy men especially, they love to give to you. They love to make you happy. That's the fuel they run on, that acknowledgement and appreciation for, what they do makes you happy. So you might be attracting, maybe more feminine energy men or men who need that. And if you're in your masculine, you might attract men who need that, who need you to give to them and move things forward. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens when you kind of focus, shift into your feminine and focus on yourself and your own needs and desires for once, right?
Right. Yeah, I know for me in my own life experience, there was times where I would just give and give and give so much,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'd be like, well, I'm definitely not getting this reciprocated. And then after that period, I kind of just closed myself off for a little bit because I had
Mm-hmm.
this perception that that's all what relationship was until I did the work and
Yeah.
then it became more balanced.
Yeah, I mean, me too, for sure. And I think a lot of times we can give, and we might not be conscious of this, but we're kind of subtly hoping we're going to get something back in return in
Yeah.
terms of the person's love or affection or even commitment. And so, I mean, I hear from so many, actually men and women, who are giving so much. And when they're not getting that back, they feel resentful. I would say, as a woman, especially, anger and resentment build in
Mhm.
direct proportion to the amount of energy and effort you're putting out. So if you're doing all this stuff and the man's just kind of taking what you have to give, but not stepping up and returning that, you're going to feel angry and resentful. It's going to come out in some other way. You can't, it's unavoidable.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. That's
Mm-hmm.
because that emotion's just that energy in motion. So if you're not getting that feedback, then naturally anger and upset is the sign that, hey, it's not coming in and
Yeah.
you got to do something about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, in any area of your life, really, that can
Totally.
apply,
Yeah.
right?
Been
Mm-hmm.
there. Been there. Well,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Helena, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time and your energy. If you had one thing to give to the world, like let's say you were gonna get beamed up or leave the world,
Mm-hmm.
or something crazy was gonna happen, and you had one message to give to everyone, what would that last message be?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. Let me think about that for a second. I would say if you have a desire for a great relationship, you are just automatically worthy of that, right? You are just as worthy and deserving as everyone else, something I always say, because I know sometimes we can feel like there must be something wrong with me or I must be missing something. Why does it happen so easily for everyone else? And if you're anything like I was, you just things, maybe you've been successful in every other area of your life, but this relationship thing has just been that one thing that's just remained elusive. So you're totally worthy of it. There's nothing wrong with you, right? Everyone has parts of themselves that could use more love and attention, right? And listening to them. And this can happen quickly. Once you learn how to love yourself and uncover some of these other sides of yourself, you can actually really quickly turn your patterns around. It doesn't have to take years and years and years. I've seen dramatic, permanent turnarounds in so many women. I mean, just countless, just way too many to count. So, and if I can do it, if all the amazing women in my community can do it, I know you can too. So it's totally possible. Just takes a little bit of tools, some support sometimes, and you can make some big shifts that last a lifetime.
Beautiful. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about the coaching model too. I feel like coaching works so much more quicker than therapy, in
Yeah,
a
it
sense.
really,
It
yeah.
just changes it and shifts it.
Yeah, because the feelings are happening right now. I mean, of course, that my background's in psychology. I have a master's in psychology, so there's so much value in going back and seeing where like some of these parts of yourself were created. But the feelings coming up now, so you can heal the feeling and work with the feeling in the present moment and make huge changes quickly. I've certainly found.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Elena, what programs or anything like that do you have going on right now?
Oh gosh, I have probably a dozen ebooks and online courses. I'm not doing too much private coaching anymore these days, but you can go to my website, helenahartcoaching.com, download my free report and audio training. It's called 3 Keys to Attract the Man You Want. Totally free. You just you just let me know where to send that to you, and it'll just get delivered right to your inbox. And then from there, you can check out my ebooks, programs. I have so many for really any situation you find yourself in. If you're looking to turn your pattern around, if you seem to keep attracting the wrong kind of men, all the way into like reconnecting a relationship, healing heartbreak, getting the commitment you want, connecting with a man's heart. I mean, I have a program for just about anything. I've been doing this for, feels like forever. So I have lots of online courses since I'm not really doing that private coaching too much anymore. And also search for me on YouTube. Just search Helena Hart. And I have literally hundreds of videos on there for in pretty much any topic when it comes to your love life and some other areas of your life too. So I'd love to have you in my community. I do live streams all the time. I'm doing one in about 45 minutes. And so we can answer questions, connect with you live. Love doing that. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thanks so much for your time and your energy, Helena. We really appreciate you coming on. Guys, if you want to check out more of her work, just check out the YouTube description box. The links are there below. Feel free to go and check that out if it really feels and resonates with you. Thank you so much again, Helena. We really appreciate your time and your energy.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. This was great. We're very aligned, and I've noticed in some of these areas. So yeah, I'd love to come back on again sometime. And thank you to everyone who's watching. I hope this was helpful.
Beautiful. We'd love that. All right, everyone. That's all we got for this time. I'll be going live again on Monday. I have an interview with Trip Kamir. So be looking out for that. That'll be going on at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you guys want to show up for that, feel free to join us. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you soon.